So we knew the franchise tag. What's the word we could say? The date to start establishing the franchise tag started roughly last Tuesday, if I do remember correctly. And there's been news that, well, not even news, pretty much reports that the Dallas Cowboys were going to put the franchise tag on George Pickens, but they really officially didn't do it. But they did do it as of today, Friday, February 27th. They have officially put the non-exclusive franchise tag on George Pickens. The news coming out of Dallas right now, today, from the Combine, from Stephen Jones and everyone covering the Cowboys, there was a phone call on yesterday between Jerry Jones saying to George Pickens that he was going to give him the non-exclusive franchise tag, and the reports by Stephen Jones per a podcast today with Rich Eisen was that he is in good spirits. He was ecstatic about it, and the Cowboys have until July 5th to come to a long-term offer, or Pickens is going to play on that non-exclusive franchise tag. And the non-exclusive franchise tag, after they just talked about the salary cap being increased, is roughly going to be $27 million and some change. But I looked into the non-exclusive franchise tag. So hypothetically, the way this works, this is how I interpret it. Okay, it's not verbatim. There's a lot of people debunking this rumor, but a lot of people have said this. So the way the non-exclusive franchise tag works, it's more beneficial to the player. Okay, and to go ahead and say it, I like that Dallas did this move for George Pickens. So it allows George Pickens to pretty much test the market. Him and his agent can seek offers from elsewhere, but the Dallas Cowboys will have the chance to match that offer that is presented to him. And from my knowledge, this is the questionable part, the Cowboys have the opportunity to get multiple first-round picks if Pickens is signed by someone else. But there's a lot of people debunking this idea. There's a lot of people saying that nobody's going to agree to that sort of compensation with Dallas if they do sign George Pickens. It will probably roughly be like a second or third rounder type deal. But either way, I think it's the non-exclusive franchise tag was the best option for Pickens. I think it's a good option for both parties. For Pickens, it gives him the opportunity to seek another team, have the opportunity of being the highest paid wide receiver. We know right now, from my top of my knowledge, it seems like Jamar Chase is the highest paid wide receiver right now with $40 million. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's been in the media over the last couple of weeks after winning the Super Bowl. He's already going to want to be the highest paid wide receiver. So George Pickens is going to be, he's probably wanting north of that, probably $40 million. I think, and I've said this multiple times, I said it roughly a couple of weeks ago, I think George Pickens should sign around the 28, 29, 30 million mark. I think he's a wide receiver too. He should be paid as such, get as much as what T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins was around the 27 million range. I think that's what George Pickens should sign for. But it's a good move in that sense for George Pickens, and it is a good move for Dallas because if George Pickens does not decide, if they don't want to match the offer that someone else is given for George Pickens, they have the ability to get some compensation for that. So, you can, the way you can really think about it, you're still trading away a player and getting something for him, even if you lose him through free agency by this non-exclusive franchise tag. So that is a good choice, in my opinion, by the Dallas Cowboys. But let's just think about it in this broad standpoint, and let's get to the meat and potatoes of this situation. The reason why you do this if you're Dallas is because you do not trust that George Pickens is going to be a good quality player on the field and off the field for 4 straight years. There's a track record with this kid already. It was in college. It was for 3 years in Pittsburgh. And there were some moments this season with the Dallas Cowboys, specifically the game on Thursday Night Football, big game, needed game, got to win it. In Detroit, CeeDee Lamb goes down with a bad concussion, and George Pickens was a no-show. And the attitude and things of that nature, everything that he had, all the issues that he had stemming from Pittsburgh, it came running head that Thursday night against the Lions. So when you have somebody with these type of character traits, you have cause to pause to want to invest that type of money into somebody. Because when we think about the Dallas Cowboys, they're paying someone in Dak Prescott, market value, one of the highest paid quarterback right now in the NFL at $60 million. CeeDee Lamb is getting paid $34 million. He's top 5 right now at the wide receiver market. So you can't really be in the business of paying 2 wide receivers that caliber money. You just can't do it. How's it going for Cincinnati Bengals? Granted, a lot of it has to do because their quarterback isn't healthy, but it has been a recipe for disaster for them. They can't even get into the playoffs. And then when you think about the other token, their defense is something that needs to be invested in as well. So there's a whole lot of moving parts to this process when it comes to trying to invest in this type of money into George Pickens. Now, granted, is it in the best interest of the Dallas Cowboys to have George Pickens as a part of this offense? Yes, because the Dallas Cowboys, arguably without a shadow of a doubt this season, had a top 3 offense. Wasn't even negotiable across the league from the fans, the media, etc. We have said on multiple occasions that the Dallas Cowboys had the best offense, and it was because of George Pickens. We're talking about a guy in George Pickens who had 1,300 yards. He was, to my knowledge, if I remember correctly, a second team All-Pro at the wide receiver position. He made his first Pro Bowl. He had a lot of career accolades under the Dallas Cowboys. But it's just 1 year. I think it's smart to do a franchise tag just in this sense. How is year 2 going to go? How is this guy going to do with 2 years under Brian Schottenheimer and this organization? Who knows if that first year was a fluke? Was he putting on a show? Is he putting on a show just to get his money? Who knows? That is the type of thing that you have to think about when you're investing in and trying to put this type of money into a player like George Pickens. Now, granted, if he was a Jackson Smith and Jigba type player, personality-wise, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase, I would think right now Dallas would have probably already signed him to a long-term deal. With all the question marks going on regarding his personality and the things that he has done already. And there was even reports, that when they were in Vegas, him and CD didn't show up on time to meetings. He was late on multiple occasions across the season, if I remember correctly, going to team meetings. So there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about with this player. And in the same token, Dallas has to think about it in this sense. Do you really want to invest that type of money into this type of player? For 2 wide receivers, when you need other team needs? Granted, you have 2 first-round picks to dabble with, but these are the type of questions that the Dallas Cowboys are asking themselves. So it gives them more time to think about it, and I've seen arguments across media already, and here's the argument. People's been saying this. Why hasn't the Dallas Cowboys thought about all this before trading for the player? You should have had the argument has been you should have had a plan in place. When you traded for him, you should have known already if you were going to sign him to a long-term extension or eventually trade him. My argument to that has been you just didn't know at that time. You can't come up with that assumption before. We didn't know if George Pickens was going to revert back to the type of player he was in Pittsburgh or be the 1,300-yard player that he was this year and be a second team All-Pro and Pro Bowler. You just did not know. And the argument to that could be, well, if you knew that he was going to be a great player and he showed the results, you should have already decided, yes, go ahead and sign him. But if he did revert back to the player, that type of player that was, let him walk. There's the argument to that too. So there's both sides of the argument. But I do believe the non-exclusive franchise tag was a smart move by the Dallas Cowboys. Gives them the opportunity to weigh out the process with the agent. We know the agent for George Pickens is David Mulugeta. Okay, this is the guy that had the drama with Micah Parsons. So who knows how this process is going to go for the next couple months. We'll have to wait and see, but the Cowboys do have until July 5th to get a deal done with George Pickens. And would I love for George Pickens to be part of Dallas? Yes, but I want it under $30 million. If it is not under $30 million, I'm not going to be a fan of having George Pickens back on the Cowboys. That is just my couple cents on that.